Okay guys, so we are going to review changing out a Magnatrol valve. So a couple of things you're going to need straight out of the gate. You are going to need some gloves. I would suggest these Gorilla gloves. They're great so that you don't cut your hands. Obviously ensure that the unit's completely unplugged. What I would do first and foremost is take a picture of the wiring and how everything's currently set up so that you don't forget. You're going to need a screwdriver, Phillips head. You are going to need a wrench, and you are going to need some oxygen tape. So let's go through this step by step. So first and foremost, I want to take off the left side of the valve fitting here. So when you do this, you're going to adjust the wrench and you're going to hold the valve. Remove this wiring first because that is very tight. Oh, great. You will find sometimes the screws are stripped, in which case you're going to get a flathead. In fact, what I would probably do, because you see how this is loose, I'm going to rotate this entire thing. Of course, that heater is in the way. I'm only unscrewing the heater to remove it so that you can rotate this around. So you're rotating this heater that way, so it's out of the way so that you can spin this manifold. Okay. Comes off. Just real quick with this. All right, you want to keep the insulation, so in case you do have to change the pipe, you can just cut this. What I would suggest is cutting this section back with a knife, cut it to here, and then when you're done, when you put it back, just retape it. If you have a vise, this is going to be a lot easier, and I'm going to have to, unfortunately, to put this on a vise because this fitting is far too tight. And it has to come off anyways. If you don't have a vise, I suggest you get a portable one where you can get it from Home Depot. That will help. So let's shift over to the vise. In terms of this, what I've done is I've taken a cutting knife, made an incision along here just to inspect it. I also have to remove the Teflon tape that's there. What you want to do straight out of the gate is just check the internals and make sure that there is no debris or anything stuck in there, because any new pipe you put on there, what it can do is it can get stuck in there and jammed up. You remove all of this, use Teflon tape, clean it up. Again, wearing gloves, not with your hands, because you'll cut your fingers on the thread. Make sure it's clean. Same up top here. You're gonna have to re-Teflon that, and you look on the inside, make sure there's nothing on the inside. There should be a gasket just there on the inside. You leave that there. That's what's creating the seal and stopping it from leaking. Clean around the edges. Same with up here. I'm gonna inspect up above anyways. Make sure the Teflon is removed. Same thing goes with this fitting here. Remove all this old Teflon. So on both ends, check the inside. And whilst you're at it, I would check the thread itself. So if you check the thread, you just make sure that the thread is not damaged anywhere for any reason. And just do a good job cleaning up. Make sure it's all removed. Because then what you can do is again make sure it's all clean. And you take your oxygen tape, and I recommend about 8 wraps around it. Pull it real tight. Roll your finger around. Hold it down at first. Right. I tend to go slow on this because I don't want to mess it up. So that's 1. 2. Until you get to about 8. So you're going to rotate this around the pipe, essentially. And then for this portion, i.e. this portion, I would first hand tighten, again, because you don't want to mess the threads up. Make sure it's fitted right. Then take your wrench and tighten around. Again, with this pipe, you want to check that nothing's in the pipe itself. It's all clear, no obstructions. So you're going to Teflon that top portion there. You really don't want any bits in and around the edges, because ultimately what will happen is it will get into the pipe, flow with nitrogen, and block the valve. So we are going to Teflon this side, Teflon here, and then we should be good to start reassembling the pipe itself and putting everything back together. So this would go up here, the valve would go on the left of it, and on the left of the valve would be your fitting. Okay, so you got your new valve. Take it out of its packaging. You can leave the wiring in there, in fact, for now. And you're going to pull these caps out. They're on either side of this valve. They'll come out. And again, just check inside for any obstructions. You don't want anything getting into the valve. If you can't remove the cap, you can use a screwdriver. Right, create a little bit of a indentation. So here, I'm going to place this on my knee. So what you want to do is you want to be careful when you're screwing it in, because you do not want, you want the threading to fit in and it naturally tighten. If it doesn't feel like it's rotating well and you try and force it in, you can basically destroy the thread on the pipe or on the valve. And more likely you'll destroy it on the valve because this is brass and this should theoretically be steel. And if you want to tighten it on a vise, that's recommended, versus over your knee. and that's what I'm going to go do now. I'm going to put the brass body of the valve on a vise, and I'm going to rotate this around it.